Hello everyone and welcome to our webinar, Increasing Conversion Through Trust and Confidence. I'm joined here with Khalid Saleh, my partner. He's been to many different industry conferences, has spoken, and has also written the book on conversion optimization. So Khalid.
Hello everybody, glad to have you join us. I see that people are slowly joining. We're probably about 50% capacity right now, so things are looking good, and I think we can get things started.
So just a little bit of housekeeping notes. One thing is, if you'd like to ask any questions, please feel free to send your questions. You can do that through your panel, and you can address any comments or questions, and we'll try to get to them, throughout the presentation. And we'll probably give a few minutes towards the end. Sometimes we go over, but we'll try to give some minutes at the end.
Can everybody hear us clear? I think you can type, but I'm seeing that at least from the GoToWebinar that we're using, it seems that the audio controls are looking good at this point. So,
if you're having trouble hearing, please just also send us a message.
So let's go ahead and get started over here. And if you're familiar with the methodology that we use at Invest, if you attended any of our webinars, you know that we talk about the conversion framework, which is the process that we follow in order for us to be able to produce increases in conversion rates. And one of the first elements, actually the first element in the conversion framework, is the element of trust and confidence. So what we wanted to do in this webinar is to highlight some of the items that you need to think about when you are trying to address issues around trust and confidence. At some level, everybody thinks that trust and confidence are clear and everybody understands them. And I think the issue is not in the theory of trust and confidence, but rather the issue is in the implementation of those elements and how do you take that theory and implement it on your website. Now, if you think about trust and confidence, regardless to the way people land on your website, whether they are landing coming through SEO, whether you are doing PPC, whether you are doing social media or email marketing, each one of those is a tool to bring visitors to your website. And each one of those has different indications of how well visitors will trust your website. For example, if somebody clicks on a link in the SERPs in Google, Yahoo, and Bing, they probably, if they're not too familiar with your website, you still need to establish more work with those visitors to increase that level of trust and confidence. The same applies to PPC. Now, email marketing, if it's done correctly and you've collected the email of the visitor and you do it on regular basis, you will see that email marketing, the visitors actually have higher rates of conversion because they have higher levels of trust for your website. Social media is give and take. If you're driving visitors through your own, let's say, Facebook page, through people who are fans of your website, you will see that the conversion rates are higher. But if you're purely running social media campaigns on Facebook, just general campaigns, if you're running, I know one of the things that used to be really hot back in 2007, 2008, the Dig and Stumble Upon and all these different social media campaigns that were completely useless when it comes to actually producing conversions on a particular website. So one of the first questions, and you need to get into the mind of your visitors, the first questions that visitors ask when they land on your website. The first question is, did I land at the correct website? Is this the right website for me? Now, let's assume that I'm searching for let's say night vision goggles. So I click on a PPC ad, and I land on the website, and I'm asking, well, is this even the right website that offers the right products that I'm looking for? The next question that you have is, can I trust this website? Can I actually transact with them? The third question that a visitor asks, do they have what I'm looking for? Now, if you think about this, this is not a very structured approach that the visitor is asking 1, 2, 3. They are very subconscious, but they are also very important questions that happen very quick. And you need to understand that visitors are thinking about all these questions in order for you to be able to address those questions. Now, I'm going to do a quick test, and we will show you kind of the theory behind this test. So the question to you is, which website you'll be willing to do business with? And I'm going to show you two websites, website A and website B. And I'll want you to answer those. You can use the chat feature to be able to answer those. So this is the first website. This is the second website. And the question to you is, was it the first website that you'll be willing to do business with, or the second website? So let's see what people are answering with. Let's take a look at the chat. here. So, question to you: would you be willing to do business with the first website or the second website? I had any answers to see, or was it too difficult of a question for you guys?
Yeah, I mean, I think, of course, and I think purposely, Khaled actually flipped through those quickly. But if you could just give us your impressions overall, then that'd be excellent. So let's see if we have any.
And okay, let's see some people chatting over here. People are telling us again and again, you need to show us the websites again. Well, this was actually intentional, the red one. It was too fast. Can you show the websites again? The first, the website on the image on the side. I wish I can figure out how to, oh, there you go. This way we can see the answers actually. With the guy with the glasses. So what you notice over here is quite a few people are willing to give us an answer based on website that I flashed in probably less than a second each. And this is really the point that I'm trying to kind of address in this particular case. And back in 2007, when we used to do these studies, we found out that the average time to establish confidence within a visitor was around 5 seconds. People looked around, they thought about it, but it took them about 5 seconds to establish confidence. In 2010, we find out that the average time it takes to establish confidence is around half a second. And this is really some of the answers that we saw, that people just purely by me flashing the websites, you don't even know what these websites offer actually, whether one of them is credible and the other is a scam. You don't know any of those the answers to any of these questions, yet people are willing to make that judgment purely based on the look and feel of the website. So right now, like I mentioned, in 2010, we have about half a second, and that's all the time it takes for a visitor to judge whether they are willing to establish confidence, whether they are willing to transact with a particular website. Now, as I put over here, that's imagine 2015, and what's the average time it's going to take to establish confidence. I can't imagine it's going to be, well, half a second even, But at least, that will get you thinking about the importance of design and how it can impact trust and confidence for your visitors.
And the reality is that every day we're bombarded with messaging and different marketing messages. So, of course, our minds are able to process these things in basically a faster period of time. And that's really why you've seen kind of this drop from 5 seconds to 0.5 seconds as well.
Yeah, and of course, I'm sure you guys are all familiar with the study that the DMA did. And one of the things that the DMA kind of established is saying that, we are bombarded with anywhere between 3,000, I think that's kind of on the high end of 3,000 different advertising messages within a single day. That's the reason visitors ignore lots of these, or consumers ignore lots of these messages, and they also evaluate these messages very, very quickly. Now, let's talk about the circle of trust, and this is something that Ayat actually kind of theorized tremendously around and really helps us establish some of the work that we do with some of our customers. And I'm going to talk quickly about it, so I'm going to throw it to Ayat to provide us with some of the commentary around some of those areas. So ultimately, what we say is it takes you a while to be able to establish trust with that visitor. It doesn't happen necessarily from the first time they transact with you. It takes a period of time transacting continuously with your website until you establish that trust. The very first stage of establishing the trust with a visitor is what we call the awareness stage. The second stage is the knowledge stage. The third stage is the liking stage. And the fourth one is the trust stage. Let's talk about this specifically and what does that mean. And let's get some also, I promise to have some case studies also within these. I know sometimes we focus a lot more on case studies. Sometimes we go into theory. So we're trying to kind of mix it up in this webinar. So in the first stage, what we talk about is the awareness stage. In this case, like we had mentioned, you are very focused on telling your visitor that, hello, I exist. So you're using SEO, you're using paid advertising, banner ads, you're using social, you're using emails. You're just basically trying to capture the visitor and tell them that I exist, please transact with me and at least start that relationship with the visitor. So the awareness stage is about visibility and getting people to find you, and that's kind of the main focus of that stage. And like I mentioned, that there's different methods that you will use to be able to establish that awareness stage. Now, let's talk specifically about PPC and SEO. This is kind of an important area that you need to focus on. So this is a typical search results page, and people ask me why am I focused on night goggles, because I've been searching for some of those now for a few days, and I discovered how expensive they are. So here is some PPC ads when I search for night goggles, and you see them over here. It's fairly a competitive term because some of those goggles, I guess, run up to $10,000, if you're willing to make such an investment. Now, let's take a look at the first position when it comes to PPC is what we call the highest trusted position when it comes to PPC. At the same time, it is the highest clicked on position. And this kind of represents a challenge for you. So people are willing to click on that first position because they think that they're, Google showed me this, that means I can trust this website the most. And at the same time, it drives visitors to your website who are not targeted. They are not focused. They just click on the ad without really thinking or reading through your ad. So there is this balance that you need to think about. The second area, as you see, kind of the more green it is, the more trust and confidence that visitors will have, is positions 2 and 3 when it comes to PPC. You're paying less when it comes to, when it comes to your PPC campaigns, but at the same time, you're getting less click-throughs, maybe less conversions. At the same time, the cost is less. The third area is positions. Usually, we say 4 to 7. Those are kind of the next set of positions, and then finally is your positions 7 to 10, 7 to 12. It depends on the search engine or the portal that you're using to display your ads. So you want to think about kind of that balance between, should I be spending my money to trying to get to the first position, or should I be content with the second, third position, or maybe even the seventh to 10th position? The same thing applies when it comes to SEO. Of course, the most trusted position when it comes to SEO, to SERPs, is the first position, and everybody competes for that first position. Then after that, positions 2 and 3. But when it comes to the rest of SEO is positions when we say 4 to kind of the 10th or the 12th position. The minute you drop off that first page when it comes to organic search, rarely do visitors click on the second and go to the second page. Studies I think show anywhere between 12 to 8%. That's such a small percentage that actually click and go to the second page. So, what's kind of the takeaway? You need to balance the cost of position with the increase in conversions. For example, let's say I have an SEO company and I'm ranking for a specific term for night goggle. Let's say I'm ranking in position 3. Now, in order for me to move from position 3 to position 1, there's a huge SEO investment in terms of link building, other efforts that you need to do to move to that position. So you need to think about that. Is it really worth for me to make that huge investment, and am I going to offset that in the number of conversions that I'm gonna get? I think we also run into a lot of that when it comes to paid search. Some of our customers that sometimes experiment with different positions, trying to find out, well, what is the right balance? Is it position number 7? Is it position number 2? Is it position number 1? Any thoughts on that, Ayat?
I think as well as kind of considering positions and the cost per click, but you also want to think about, okay, how can I establish more of an on-page trust as well? So that obviously goes into the next stage after awareness.
Right. The next stage is the knowledge stage. And this is basically when the visitor clicked through on any of those different mediums and they are landed on your website. This is your first chance to convince the visitor that, hey, I am trustworthy, I have what you are looking for, and please stick around because we can do business together. And in this case, when visitors land on your website, value proposition having a very strong, concise value proposition is essential, and really moving visitors towards that conversion process. Let's look at a case study over here. Now, Ayat, if you want to set this case study for us and kind of discuss like the background, let me just show what I'm showing you over here is different headlines.
So these are different headlines that we used for this hosting company. And the hosting company, of course, offered more than one service. They didn't only offer the hosting. And actually, the services that gave them the biggest bang for their buck were the services that offer the most in terms of revenue were not necessarily the hosting service or purchasing of domains. So, of course, we wanted to kind of focus on everything that they offered on the site so that they can get more value. So each one of these headlines was kind of created with that sense. So first thing was everything you need to create a website. It's the first headline that we use. And of course, it's just a clear idea that this is the value that you're going to get from the site. It's everything that you need. Not necessarily clear on what those needs are. Second one was focused more, from a caring persona, and we always look at personas when we're considering different headlines and what they would expect in terms of value. So this was more addressing that, that social proof, that trust in our name and so forth. Third one was to the point, exactly everything that they wanted was offered on the site. It talked specifically about the different services that they offered. The fourth one was actually the control, the one that the customer already had on their site.
Very good. So you have 4 headlines over here, and I have given away the control, which is the fourth one, supercharged domains. And the question to you is, between headline 1, 2, 3, and 4, which one of those headlines do you think is stronger? Which one of those would cause higher conversion rates? And then we can talk about also, I can talk about the headlines and using headlines when it comes to conversion. But let's do a quick voting over here. Which one do you think, 1, 2, 3, or 4, would actually produce an increase in conversion rates? And this is a company that does about, if I recall correctly, about close to about $9 million annually. So let's take a look at some of the answers that we're getting over here.
So we have some people saying 2, some people saying, putting them all in order, 2, 1, 3, and 4. Some people saying 3.
Lots of 2s, though.
Yeah, the majority is saying 2, it seems like.
Yeah, some people are saying, well, I don't see the website. However, it's intentional that we did not want to show the website because we just want to evaluate, in this case, the value proposition. Headline 2, which is what I think the majority had picked. Let's take a look at headline number 2. Okay. Let's take a look at the chat over here. Okay, more number 3. So we'll give you kind of just one more minute to take a look at this. Okay, I would say actually, let me see. The majority picked, well, there's few who picked 3. More 3 coming through. Okay. Okay, so let's look at the actual result that came through with this one. Here's again the headlines. And here are the results. So headline 2, actually, with the 1.5 million satisfied website owners, generated a 38% uplift in conversion rates, followed by headline 3, registered domains, host websites, get found, produced about a 23% uplift in conversion rates. Headline 1, everything you need to create a website, produced a 21% uplift in conversion rates. All of those headlines beat the control. Now, this is actually an important point to talk about. When you are presented with a test, a page that you want to test, lots of times people tell us, well, let's test the different headlines. Let's test maybe like, the text on, or the color of a button, or the text on a CTA and a call to action. And we always tell people that there are different things that you can test on a page. You can test what we call element level. So I'm testing different headlines. I'm just testing different colors for a call to action. So that's kind of one area that you can test. Unless you are testing a value proposition, an element level test does not always produce a significant increase in conversion rates. If you're just testing, for example, the color of a CTA, usually the uplift is anywhere between 0.5%, maybe to 2.5%, unless you're running into a very strange, unusual circumstance. So element level testing does not produce the most impact. The second level is what we call page level testing. So now you're testing, instead of looking at an element, you're looking at the overall layout within that page. Those start producing more significant increases in conversion rates. And we usually would want to start with page level testing. The third level of testing is what we call process testing. So now you're testing multiple pages, and that produces more significant increases in conversion rates. Yet, because it produces these most significant increases in conversion rates, it is the most complex. That's the reason we don't usually recommend starting with process level testing. You want to focus at the page level testing, and then after you kind of got really got very familiar with the process of testing, understand the hypothesis behind testing, that's when you move to process level testing. Very good. So let's move on from here to the next slide. Now let's talk about value proposition. We sort of gave some headlines over there, and we can talk specifically more about value proposition and kind of give some more examples around that. Value proposition is a statement that summarizes why a particular prospect should buy your product or services. It really answers for a prospect who doesn't know your website. It basically tells them what distinguishes your company from the rest of the competition. Any thoughts on that, Ayat?
Yeah, just to know, I mean, when we talk about value proposition, this is kind of an internal statement that your company is going to come up with. It's something that you have to consider as a whole company. And when we discuss value proposition as a whole, it's not necessarily, that the value proposition has to be present only in the headline or only in the tagline or only on specific elements. Really, it should be kind of a message that resonates throughout the site, and you continue to kind of promote that specific message.
Very good. So again, like going back to one of the things I started the webinar with is lots of these concepts are very straightforward. The challenge is not in the theory behind them, the challenge in the actual implementation of them. So for example, lots of times we sit with some of the customers that use our Pi software, and one of the first things, as you analyze the website, you sit and discuss the website with them, we tell them, okay, well, so what's your value proposition? Perhaps in the last 7 or 8 years, the most used value proposition that we have from our customers is, well, we offer the best customer service, or we offer the lowest price. The challenge with such value proposition is really your competitors can take it and make the same claim, and it's extremely difficult to challenge that claim. It's almost became so widely used that it became useless to customers. Now, probably an exception to that is Walmart, that's really established itself as lowest price leader in the area. But unless you're Walmart size, I would not recommend going for lowest price, best in customer service. Now another example for kind of also an exception is Zappos, for example, and how well their customer service is. But you have a huge advertising machine complemented with an actual first-in-class customer service, complemented by tens of thousands of customers that talk about the value of their customer service and how great it is. Thus, the value of we are the best in customer service for Zappos does really resonate well with the marketplace.
Well, just a note on that, for example, even a company like Zappos is, for instance, lots of different elements throughout the website are addressing that same customer service messaging. It's not that they just say that without having that value kind of resonate throughout the website. And you'd see if you go to their website, zappos.com, that there's lots of different elements that are kind of addressing that specific value. So again, it's a matter of coming up with that value as a company. What is it in terms of specificity, in terms of what makes you exceptional and unique, and in terms of excellence, and then taking that and really coming up with some sort of a statement that you can use and kind of apply to different elements throughout the website.
Very good. And kind of following up on what Ayat said, one of the things that you want to evaluate within your own value proposition that you come up with, how specific are you? For example, with this one customer, they didn't want to use a specific, that we showed the headline, they didn't want to show the specific number of customers, but sometimes we love to show that we have 1,492,112 customers. I think that will even beat the 1.5 million customers. The more specific your value proposition, if you want to show something like that, or title, I think you can see more results from that. And Ayat is shaking her head. She's not too convinced about that.
It's not a matter of, again, it's not necessarily just a headline where you say that that's a value proposition. And for them, the 1.5 million customers isn't necessarily their value proposition.
That's true. Very good. Evaluate also within your value proposition, how exceptional is it? How unique is it? Can your competitor take, and this is really a good way to evaluate your value proposition, can your competitor take the same value proposition and slap it on their website and actually get away with that? Or, would they have a tough time supporting such claim on their websites? And that will actually allow you to start thinking about the value proposition and how well it positions your company within your customers' or visitors' mind.
And, you have to come back to the thought that your company does have a value proposition. I know you might say to yourself, well, there's nothing that makes my company necessarily exceptional or better than the rest of the competition. There must be something, and if there isn't, it's kind of more of that going back and doing that internal discussion within the company to come up with something that distinguishes your company.
Right. Now, the process, by the way, of finding a value proposition, I know sometimes people throw it quickly and they're done with it and they move on. Sometimes with our customers, it might take a few weeks, really, of drilling down, sitting, talking to them, talking to their own customers, doing surveys, trying to understand really what makes that company unique in the minds of those visitors that are doing business with it. The second element when it comes to establishing trust and confidence is congruency. Now, congruency is the idea of maintaining a single harmonious message within the same page. Now, I have a value proposition, and let's kind of take that through the value proposition. I have a value proposition, but it's not enough to have that value proposition in the headline. You want every element on that particular page, for the most part, to support that value proposition. So you need to move beyond, well, I have a headline, I've slapped the headline with a value proposition, and I'm done. You need to move to think about every element and making sure that that element on that particular page speaks to that value proposition.
And of course, I mean, I'll note that congruency doesn't necessarily only relate to the value proposition. It relates to, of course, the website as a whole. It relates to kind of all of the different elements on a page working harmoniously to achieve a specific goal. Ultimately, whatever website you have, there is a specific goal in mind, and that goal is what that congruency with the elements is going to work towards. So, of course, I mean, we're talking about value proposition right now, but congruency applies to all different elements on the website.
Now, if you think about the different pages on your website, pages on the site serve two purposes. One, they really should support the overall value proposition for the website. The second thing that these pages, and they're really equal, so the first element is supporting that value proposition. The second goal from the page is to move visitors closer to that conversion goal. If you're an e-commerce website, ultimately what different pages on the website should do is move the visitors closer to placing an order with the website. Now, different pages play different roles in really achieving that goal. So, for example, my category pages, they're what we call funnel pages. The goal from a category page is to funnel visitors to the product pages. The goal from my product pages is to actually make the offer to that visitor and convince them that this is the right product, this is the best price, go ahead and click on that add to cart. Your help pages, for example, your frequently asked questions, they also are supporting pages. They attempt to answer any questions, clarify any concerns visitors have, and really ultimately put the visitor back in that conversion process, that conversion funnel to get the visitor to convert. And one of the important things that you need to consider is you need to do an evaluation for every page on your website. You need to ask specific questions. And these are very critical questions, those 5 questions that we have over here when you're evaluating a page. One of the first questions that you want to ask is, what is the primary conversion goal for that page? Now, a page can have different conversion goals. Examples? You
could have, for example, of course, the main call to action of the purchase of a specific product or service. You can have a sign up for a newsletter. You can have a goal that you're just simply addressing concerns, or you have like kind of a chat feature. So of course there's different goals that a page tries to achieve.
The second question that you need to ask is, looking at the different elements of that page, the copy, the image, the design, do they support that primary goal? So for example, I go back to an e-commerce website. My product pages, ultimately their goal is to click, for the visitor to click on that add to cart. Are all the elements support that primary goal? You need to think about that. Now, sometimes you will have elements that actually distract visitors from that primary goal. And that's fine and normal, because you might have secondary conversion goals, but you need to have that balance between the primary conversion goals, the elements that support it, the secondary conversion goals, and the elements that support it. And then you'll discover as you do this evaluation that there might be some elements that you have on the page that really don't support any of your conversion goals. And what I like to do is just get rid of those. Get rid of any element that doesn't support our primary conversion goal. Now, of course, at the same time, what you need to keep in mind is the support doesn't have to be direct, correct? Providing product information supports ultimately the customer click on the add to cart, because I need to evaluate the product specifics. It's not, I might be evaluating different products, but you do need to provide that information for your visitors. The fourth question that you need to ask, do different elements on the page present single congruent message? And that's very important, because if some of the elements are telling the visitors that yes, this is the right product, and some of the other elements are telling the visitor, no, you might want to consider other competing websites or other products that we have. You need to really think about that. And that's really where using cross-sells and upsells sometimes can be challenging, because you distract visitors from the primary conversion goal for the page. Final question that you want to ask, are the different elements relevant to each other? Do they all work with each other, or do we have competing messages that can cause confusion for the visitors? Now, we always like to give an example with Bluefly, and I actually want to talk to us about congruency when it comes to Bluefly over here.
Yeah, so what you'll see on bluefly.com is the site, obviously, just from looking at it and reading kind of the tagline, looking at the image, there's something that has to do with fashion. I mean, that's the first thing that comes to mind when you look at these different things. And what you'll notice is, again, the tagline is addressing that this is for the fashion obsessed. This site, this is what they're offering on the site. And then you look at, kind of just even the main image. Again, the way that the main headline is listed, the image of the lady, the model, again, addressing that idea of fashion. Even the elements below, the designer handbags, the brand names that they're listing as well. Again, all of it has to do with fashion and really kind of addressing that, because that's what the site is all about. And for those who like fashion, this is something that they're going to be happy with. This site is going to, really address their needs.
Yeah. So this is, for us, really, I think Bluefly is an excellent example of a website that takes a single message and provides an excellent example of congruency, a congruent message. Every element, for the most part, supports on the page. I think Zappos is another example, is a great example of a site that does really thinks about congruency and presents a single congruent message also on their website. Another element that helps you establish trust and confidence is continuity. Continuity refers to maintaining relevance and sense at every touch point the visitors have to go through, whether when it comes to your website or campaign. You usually hear the term continuity, sometimes it's exchanged with relevance and sense. Basically, you need to maintain continuous theme when it comes to look, feel, offers, and copy when it comes to the website. When you're able to, as I'm navigating from one page to the next, I have the same messaging, I have the same copy, I have the same offers, I'm being offered on the website. That helps you establish continuity. That helps you increase conversion rates.
And sometimes you'll find an issue with continuity with some sites that have kind of third-party, checkouts, for instance, because a lot of times the customer clicks on the checkout and they find that they're at a completely different page. And we've seen this a lot with some of our companies, and trying to establish that continuity from the site to the actual third party is often a challenge. So you have to kind of be really wary of that, because that would cause lots of drop-off from your customers.
So some of our customers, when we first started doing conversion optimization, PayPal everybody is very familiar with PayPal. Yet at the same time, it's sort of challenging because you're sort of relying on the PayPal funnel and the drop-off rates in the PayPal funnel for people to convert. PayPal is not as much a challenge as some of the other checkouts companies are available. 2CO, I believe, is another one, where it was not as common 6-7 years ago, and the theme was not as consistent as PayPal. And it was really challenging for some of our customers, because especially the customers that are in Asia, sometimes some of the customers in the Middle East, they had to use 2CO, and it was a challenge because you're taking the customer to a completely different experience, and you're having to not only rely on the fact that experience had its own conversion holes in their funnel, but at the same time it was such a different experience that people were worried, and you lose that trust and confidence. You actually increase the FUD, the fears, uncertainties, and doubts that visitors have as they're going through that checkout process. Some of the questions that you want to consider when it comes to continuity. What brought the visitors to my website in the first place? How did they get here? Did they get here through social? Did they get here through email, through organic? All these are important questions when it comes to continuity. What pages did they land on? Are they landing on my search result pages? Are they landing on my category pages, my main home page? What messaging did they see? What messaging was promised to them prior to landing on the website? And what messages did they see when they landed on the website? And was there relevance? So if I search for night goggles and I click and I land on a page on a particular website, is it relevant to my search term? And all these questions will help you start thinking about continuity and providing that continuous messaging for your customer. Here's an example from probably one of the longest, one of our long-time customers using our Price software. When it comes to this particular customer, we'll show you, one of the things that they've done with their PPC ads is they had free shipping, no hassle return available, which is unusual for a company that does high-end furniture items. The problem is when people click from AdWords, from the different PPC campaigns, and they landed on the website, one of the things in the original pages, they didn't have any mention of those offers that they've had. Now, all we did is we introduced those offers to the sites, as you see with this banner on the category page. And as you can imagine, we saw an uplift in conversion rates. Let's look at the results from this. An 8.8% uplift in conversion rates. This company, they do about, I think, right now, when they first started doing business with us, they were doing about $500,000, $500,000 in sales per month, and that was back in 2009. They're close up to $2.5 million in sales on a monthly basis right now. How do you achieve results like these? Every month, if you're able to achieve 4.5%, 5%, 10%, it eventually accumulates and produces such increases in conversion rates. But you need to be able to focus on the elements that you're testing and really test them, and compare the control to the new variations that you're introducing to the website. Okay. Typical problems when maintaining continuity. Think about these and consider them. Lots of times continuity, by the way, some of it has to do with conversion optimization, but sometimes it's really, it tells you about poorly designed campaigns. So for example, if I have an AdWords campaign and I'm making wild claims for my visitors in Google, and then when they click on the website, I'm not able to fulfill those claims because I don't even know about some of those claims, that becomes an issue. So you need to look at your AdWords campaign, how well they're structured, how well they're grouped, what keywords are we using in those, are we actually landing the visitors on the right pages when it comes to our website. Even more challenging is our SEO campaign. So with an AdWords campaign, with a PPC campaign, you can go in and make the edits and it's live and you're done with the problems that you have. With an SEO campaign, it's a lot more challenging because you spend months, you're building links, you're ranking for the wrong keyword, and now you wanna sort of, kind of avoid that, and it's a little too late because you can't just undo all the work that you've done. So you want to really think about your SEO campaigns because they require more time commitment and more, I think, money investment as well. And you cannot undo the mistakes when it comes to SEO campaigns. Another challenge when it comes to continuity is using, for example, if you're an e-commerce website, your homepage or category pages as your landing page. And this is kind of one of the very basics, 101 conversion optimization. You have to have a specific landing page for each one of the campaigns that you're doing. Another area for large e-commerce websites is using search result pages. So sometimes if you use some of these search results services, they allow you to use the search result pages as landing pages, and we don't like that because we see typically that a custom designed landing page will produce more significant increases in conversion rates compared to search results pages.
And of course, I mean, just to keep in mind when Khalid is talking about this specific continuity, he's talking about from ad to the site, but of course there is on-site continuity that you have to consider as well, which we kind of discussed before with the checkout, the third-party checkouts and so forth.
Yeah, one of the questions that I see that just came about if the webinar is going to be available for rewatch. Yes, we've had some issues with our last two webinars where they were not available. So this one, I think we have all the technical issues figured out. So yes, we will make this webinar available on our website, and we'll send you a link so you can watch it and hopefully take some more notes. Here's an example when it comes to continuity. I actually want to walk us through this example as an email campaign, I think, for one of our customers. Right.
So one thing that, when we consider, of course, anybody who's coming from email is a little bit more likely to convert because you were able to actually get their email address, they visited your site, or they signed up for something. So there is already kind of that established trust to a certain extent from email campaigns. But anyhow, so what we thought was, let's take some of the messaging, let's try to really give them some incentives to actually move forward with the purchase process, and considering different personas and different, value proposition elements on this specific email campaign.
By the way, just kind of a quick note on this one. We always tell our customers, if you're running email campaigns, Typically, what I tell customers, it should be looking at the conversion rate for email campaigns at about at least double the rate of your SEO campaign. Probably definitely should beat also your PPC campaigns. Sometimes actually with well-optimized email campaigns, we see 3x the conversion rate for a typical SEO campaign, about 2 times PPC campaign. So just kind of keep that in mind. If you're seeing it lower than that, that tells you that there are some problems when it comes to your conversion rates, or when it comes to the way you structure your email campaigns. So this was the email, and I think this was the design.
This is the actual design of the site. So when the customer clicked on the email, they were navigated to this specific site.
And the challenge with this is people are clicking on the email. Now, if you look at the ad again and the email, there's free shipping that was promised. And I click on the category page, and there is no mention of that free shipping. So right away, you disconnected the messaging. The scent disappears. Relevance disappears. I've clicked because you've made me an offer, and now when I look at it, it's gone. Now, here is the new design for that category page.
And what you see is, of course, the messaging is continued on the specific page that they landed on. So the page, of course, that lists all the microwaves is the category page. And again, the message of the 48-hour free shipping resonates with the customer because, of course, from the email to the site, they see that the messaging is still there. And we didn't even want to change the way the banner appeared. We wanted to make sure that it was continuous and offered the same exact message.
And you saw a 12% uplift as a result of, it's the same email campaign. You didn't ask the customer to do anything more except that tell the visitors that, hey, we already have this offer, which we've already promised you on the website, on email. We're going to make sure that you are reminded of that offer. And as a result, you see a 12% uplift in conversion rates for the same offer that you've had. With that, we come to the end of our webinar. I hope that you found it useful. Just quick information about Invest. As you see, the average uplift that we provide to our customers is 65% uplift in conversion rates. The software that we produce, because we've worked with so many different companies that are trying to increase their conversion rates, and lots of times you rely on consultants. With consultants, lots of times they're guessing. So our Pi software tries to remove that guesswork from the conversion optimization process with minimal impact on your marketing and IT. And this shows you some of the companies that are using the Pi software. Pi software has been around since 2009, so we're getting close to 3 years now of customers using Pi. Also, I'm sure you're familiar with our book on conversion optimization, which is an Amazon.com best-selling book. Again, this webinar is going to be available on our website. You should receive a link to it shortly. And we plan on scheduling a once-a-month webinar similar to this. So hopefully, if you found this webinar useful, you'll be getting an email invitation from us probably next week with the new webinar. I know in April, we're going to have Linda Bustos from Elastic Path with us talking about the checkout process. So that should be very, very interesting as well. I hope that you guys enjoyed the webinar.
And thank you for joining us. I don't know if there's any questions. It doesn't seem like any other new questions came in. So we'll conclude here, and we hope to see you at the next webinar.